Hello, my name is Kieran Hayes and this is my video on the 15 settings I changed immediately on the Nikon Z6iii. These settings will cover the autofocus setup and a few other settings to not only help you capture the shot you want, but to also help you or assist you while you're out taking photographs. These all just help take some of the pressure off you when you're out and about taking those shots. So come on, let's get into it and I'll walk you through them all. Now the first thing I should say is there is a chance you will not agree with every single setting I have here, as let's face it, we all use our cameras completely differently. But for me, I found these 15 plus settings made a huge difference to the way the Z6iii worked for me. Now I have this video in chapters, so it's easy to skip through to the individual setting you're looking for. Okay, we are starting with the basics and moving on rapidly from there. But just the very first setting for me that I always change has to be changing from the default JPEG to RAW, as this just gives us far more detail and of course more tolerance to work with our photographs while editing afterwards. All we need to do is move up to the camera icon here and then press the OK button, and then we move down along until we get to image quality and we press the OK button again, and we just move up along here until we get to RAW and press OK again, and that's it. Now we have another option here for RAW recording. If I move down along here and press OK again, we have different options. We have high efficiency star, and lossless compression. Now personally, lossless compression is the one I always use because I'm looking for the absolute maximum image quality out of the actual camera itself in my RAW files. This has to be creating a backup in camera for your images. This is vital for me in commercial and professional work, as cards can fail and actually have failed on me personally. So having a backup really is vital, if not compulsory now for insurance purposes. Trust me, you'll thank me for this one later. Again, we just move up to the camera icon and press OK, and we move up along here now, or move up or move down until we find secondary card slot. And I press OK again. It's going to open out the options here. We have overflow, backup, RAW primary, JPEG secondary, JPEG primary, and JPEG secondary. What I like to select here is backup, and I just press OK, and that's it. It's done. Okay, so the next few settings are all about focus, and these settings will get you up and running super smoothly. Now I'll be posting another far more detailed, in-depth video on how I set up the focus on the Z6iii, including focus handover and how all that works, so make sure to look out for that video coming in the next couple of weeks. The first focus setting I always change on any camera is to set up back button focus. Back button focus is fantastic as it disconnects the focusing from the actual shutter button itself and it moves it to the AF on button on the back of the camera. So let me show you how we change them now. So we move down to the pencil icon here and press OK, and then we select focus, which is option A, and press OK again, and then we move down to option A6, which is AF activation, and press OK, and then we have two options. We've shutter and AF on. In other words, both the AF on button and the shutter will trigger focus, or we can have AF on only. So if I click on AF on only and press OK, that's it, that's done now. And now the shutter button will no longer focus the camera for you. I tend to use AFC or continuous autofocus a lot, and one of the things I really like is that green confirmation box that helps you confirm that you have focus lock. As I say, it's enabled as default in AFS, but in AFC it's not. And I'm going to show you how to set it up for AFC now. So to show you what I mean here now, I'm in AFC, and if I focus on the matte there with spot focus, there's no green visual confirmation. So to enable that then, we need to go down to the pencil icon and press OK, click on focus and press OK, and then we need to go to option A10, which is focus point display, and press OK. AFC in focus display is off. So if I press OK now, it enables that. So if that's now set, so if I press my shutter button just to go back to Dobby again, and if I hold down there on the mat, there we are, we're in AFC. And if I go up here now and press it again, and just to prove a point, there is AFC, and when I hold down the AF on button on the back now, you can see it's clearly in focus. For me, this is hugely important to my photography, as it just confirms to me that my focus is locked on, and it helps take the guesswork out of it. Storing focus points by orientation is one of those features I never knew I needed until I enabled it. It's an incredible feature as it swaps the focus point when you change orientation. Sounds complicated? Well, it's not. Let me show you what I mean here now. Let's say we're taking a group shot here now. We have Dobby there and there's two other people there, so we need to take it in landscape mode. We are in focus, we're firing off our shot, and then the other two people leave, and what we need to do is pop it into portrait orientation, and now we're taking a photograph of Dobby. Now, as you can see, my spot focus point is off to the side, so I need to move this over onto Dobby's eye again, and then press down my button, and now it's in focus again. Now we want to go back to landscape mode again, because a few other people have to pop in. We need to keep moving that focus point around the place every single time. But if we actually go into the menu here now, and move down here to the pencil icon and select A for focus and press OK again, there's A5 is store points by orientation. Now that's off now at the moment, but if I press on the OK button, it gives you a few different options. You can store the focus point or the focus point and AF area mode. So we're going to go on focus point and AF area mode this time now and press OK. So what does all this mean? Well, what it means is I'm in landscape mode here now at the moment, and I can just pop the box over Dobby and hold down my AF on button, and it focuses perfectly on him. Then when I go into portrait mode, I can just reposition it over Dobby again and hold down my AF on button, and it focuses perfectly on Dobby again. Now when I go back to landscape mode, watch this. That focus box automatically positions itself in the last known spot, which is over Dobby's face. And then I move back to portrait, and it pops into the rough area again. And that is incredibly handy. And I can actually change settings in portrait mode. And then when I go back into landscape, the landscape mode stays the same. And back into portrait, and it swaps over. So you can have spot focus in one and wide area AF in the other if you want. And that is incredibly handy. Focus centering or resetting your focus center point to the center of the screen. Now this is very handy if you shoot and spot focus a lot. And yes, the OK button on the back of the camera will actually work for focus centering. But I find if you're used to shooting with spot focus, you're constantly moving that little spot focus around the place with the joystick. So moving your thumb up and down, it just adds another kind of a dimension of trouble or drama or just something else to be doing. So I just like to switch it on to the actual joystick itself. I really find that very handy. So let me show you how you set that up now. So we go down to the pencil icon and we press OK. Then we move down to controls and press OK then again. And then we select F2 for custom controls for shooting and press OK. Now what we need to do here is move down to the joystick, which is this one. You can see it's highlighted in yellow here now. Press the OK button and then move up to the setting we want, which is all the way up on the top, which is reset. So in other words, when I select this now and when I press OK, reset is now enabled. So when I press down on the joystick, it will bring the focus point back to the center of the screen. Now, you can also see the OK button is also on reset. So what I like to do is I like to change this. So I just move over, press an OK again. And what I can do is I can select zoom on and off here now. And you can select the magnification. I like 100%. So the beauty of this now is when I press the OK button, it'll zoom in on 100% of the image so I can check focus and press OK again and it zooms back out along. But setting 6 really is more about the center point reset for spot focus. So the next setting here now is setting your FN1 key here to 3D tracking. That basically means when I hold down the FN1 key, the camera is going to constantly work in 3D tracking mode. Now that is incredibly handy for those split-second shots you need to capture. It's like using spot focus on steroids. And yes, it might sound complicated what I'm saying to you right now, but as I say, I will be posting another video on how I do autofocus handover and what 3D tracking does and all the focus settings I use on the Z6iii, where I'm going to keep it really simple and explain it so you can capture those beautiful shots every time. So watch out for that one. But right now, let's have a look and see how you change FN1 to 3D tracking. So again, we move down to the pencil icon, we press OK, then we move down to controls, which is option F, and press OK again. Then we go to custom controls for shooting, which is F2, and press OK. And here we are straight away on FN1, which is set to white balance here at the moment. But if I press the OK button, it'll give you a whole host of different options to select here now. So I'll run up along here now until I find it. I'm probably going to go straight past it. AF area mode here. So when I press OK here now, we can select the different AF area modes. So in other words, whenever we press the FN1 button, it's going to bring us to that mode. 3D tracking is the one I want, so I click on OK here now, and now FN1 is set to 3D tracking. And that's incredibly handy. Again, I'm going to be explaining this in a lot more detail in my future video on the focus modes I use on the Z6iii, so look out for that one. Setting 8 is focus peaking for manual focus. So if you're like me and if you tend to shoot in manual focus a lot, this is great because when you're adjusting the manual focus ring on the camera, when you have focus peaking enabled, it will actually highlight the parts of the image that are in focus. So again, it's kind of a visual confirmation of what's in focus and what's out of focus. And you can even see your depth of field. So again, we move down here to the pencil icon, press OK, select focus, press OK. And then we want to move down to option A12, which is focus peaking, and press OK again. Now we have focus peaking display. And when I press the OK button now, it switches it on. And when I press it again, it switches it off. So you can enable it and disable it by pressing the OK button. But that's it. That's focus peaking switched on now. Setting number 9 then is focus wraparound. And it's going to be an awful lot easier for me to show you on screen what this does rather than trying to explain it and holding the camera here in my hand. So come on, let's have a look and see what it does. So here I am and I'm moving my spot focus, and when I hold down the button to either go completely left or completely right, it stops at the edge of the frame. The same as when we go up, and when we go down, it won't go any further. So what does focus wraparound do for you? Let's switch it on and I'll show you now. So we press the menu, then we move down to the pencil icon, press OK, go on to focus, press OK, and then we move down along here until we find focus point wraparound, which is option A9, and press OK to enable it. And if I press the menu now to back out of this now again, and we go back, and if I hold down the arrow to the left, you'll see it'll keep traveling to the left. So it exits the left of frame here now, and then when I press it once more again, it goes to the right of frame. And the same thing when we go up and down. So that's very handy. Let's say you're positioned here now somewhere for your spot focus, and if you want to move it to the far top corner, I just click here and then click down, and there we are. It's done. Really simple, really fast, and very handy if you use spot focus a lot. If you're finding this video helpful, then please do give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below. Doing this just helps get my content out to more people, and it might help other people like you to set up their Z6iii. Okay, so that's the focus part of the settings kind of finished with for now. But remember to watch out for that full Z6iii focus video coming soon. Setting 10 then is setting your max auto ISO. Now this is very personal, so you need to check what you're comfortable with here. And remember, all genres of photography differ here slightly. For me, I have it set, my max auto ISO is set to ISO 3200 for now in photo mode. And yes, I know that is low, and I do go up to ISO 6400, but please do remember, this is a very personal setting, as we all have different tolerances to noise. And it also depends a lot on the genre of photography you shoot. For me though, I set mine to ISO 3200 as default, because my clients are fairly demanding, and rightly so. They don't want any noise in their images, and some of their photographs will be used for large print media, so I need to take that into account. 6400 is still really good, but I prefer to keep on the safe side and enable it to 3200. So we move up to the camera icon and press OK, and then we move down along until we find ISO sensitivity settings and press OK to enter that submenu. And here you can set the ISO sensitivity, or you can enable auto ISO sensitivity control. So when I press OK to enable that now, we can set our maximum ISO sensitivity. So if I press OK here now again, I can select ISO 6400 if I want, or ISO 3200. And when I press OK, it stores that in then. Setting 11 is enabling extended shutter speeds. This is amazing if you shoot long exposures, as you can now shoot longer than 30 seconds. In fact, you can shoot up to 15-minute exposures all in camera with no external triggers our remote controls. So we move down to the pencil icon and we press OK, and then we select shooting display and press OK again. And then what we do is we move down along here until we find extended shutter speeds. Now when I press the OK button, it switches it on, and I press it again and it switches it off. So if I switch it on now, and if I go back to my camera here now at the moment, I can now slow down my shutter speed. As you see in the bottom corner here now, it's getting slower and slower and slower. And once I hit that 30 second and go below that now again, it goes 60, 90, 120, 180, 240, 300, 480, 600, 720, and finally 900. And after that, then again, we have our bulb and we have time. So that is incredibly handy because normally it only goes as far as 30 seconds. Setting 12 is Starlight, and this is a game changer. And yes, it might be enabled as default, but most people don't understand it or use it. Now, it's set up to the lens FN button, so I can quickly switch it on and off. But let me show you exactly what it does here now. So now when I press my lens FN button, I press it once, it switches Starlight off, and this is what it looks like without Starlight, and press it again, and it switches Starlight on. So if I'm shooting in ever-changing lighting conditions, that is incredibly handy. So again, switch Starlight off, and again, switch Starlight on. So if I press the menu button here now, and we go down to the pencil icon, then we go to controls, and if I go to custom controls shooting and click on that, what we want to do is we want to find the lens FN button here now, which is here, and I'm going to press OK. And what we want to be able to do is switch this now, so that's going to actually switch on Starlight for us. So I'm going to keep going here now. There's Starlight, so when I press OK, Starlight is on there now. Setting 13 is flash sync speed, and I set it to 1200 fp. It's option E1 to give you the option of using HSS on your flash, so your camera can go over 1/200 of a second and sync with your flash in HSS. Just make sure your flash has HSS and it works with the Z6iii. I use the newer Z2 speedlight and the Q3, Q200 and Q4 strobes, and they all work perfectly with the Z6iii. So we move down to the pencil icon and press OK, and then we select option E, which is bracketing flash, and press OK. And then we have flash sync speed here as E1. And if I press OK again, you can see it's here on 1/200 of a second. But if I move up here and press OK, that is now going to enable high-speed sync on the camera. Setting 14 isn't really a setting, but it's more of a creating shortcuts. And what it is it's customizing your eye menu. Now, to bring up the eye menu, you basically just press the eye button here, and then all your most used settings will come up on the bottom, and you can access them really quickly. Now, you can go in and set that too as well, so I'm going to show you how you do that now. We move down here to the pencil icon, press OK, and we move down along here to option F for controls, and press OK. And straight away we're on option F1, which is customize eye menu, and I press OK, and we have a whole load of different options here now. So we can chop and change these to anything we want. So if I press OK, I can actually run down through the list and select any one of these options. So if I want white balance there now, I can just press OK, and you say, perfect. Now on this one, I want to change this to ISO sensitivity settings, and I press OK. So you can see you can customize this to exactly the settings you want in your camera. Setting 15 then is to save user settings. And what this actually is you can actually create user profiles on the Z6iii. You have these U1, U2 and U3 on the top of the camera. And what you do is you can save different profiles or different user settings for U1, U2 and U3. So you can shoot different genres of photography and swap over from one to the other really quickly just by changing from U1 to U2. And what I generally like to do is I personally like to leave U3 as kind of a factory default. That way, if I'm out in some place and if I want to hand my camera to a friend or a family member or something, say, hey, can you take a quick profile shot of me here? Pop it over to U3 and it works like a normal camera. And then when I get it back, I can go back to U1 or U2 again and it'll work away whatever way I want it. So we move down here to the spanner icon and press OK. And then we select Save User Settings and press OK. And I can save these settings to option U1, U2 or U3. So if I select Save to U1 now and press OK, save settings just to confirm it and press OK again, and that's it, that's done now. You might have a different setting too as well that I haven't actually mentioned here. So If you have, and if you personally find it incredibly helpful, then please do let me know in the comments down below, because other people might see that comment and they might learn from it too as well. So until the next video, see you out there, or see you in the next video, guys.